All right, you guys, welcome back. Mr. Eddie Barber, and today we got fadeology. And I'm gonna tell you guys something. In this video, man, I'm gonna go all out for you so that you can get your fades on point, stop struggling, stop making mistakes, and start doing the most perfect work that you've ever done. So let's just sit right down. Let's chill out. It's not a super exciting video. This is for the dedicated learner, and this is for all the people on my channel that are always trying to learn. So let's get started today. I have a great fade tutorial today that I'm going to mix with some theory and some information that's going to help you understand it a little bit better than me just showing you how to do it. Because again, I could show you how to do it till I'm blue in the face, and some of you guys are going to be okay with that, and that's how you learn, or others are going to need a little bit more. And I think probably the best people, the best thing that can happen is a mixture of both. Really helps you out, really helps you understand it. The reason why I start with a number 2, I always start with a number 2 in my fade scale, because you should know how to do clipper over comb. And clipper over comb is very easy to do from a 2 into whatever length you want. And if clipper over comb is something you struggle with, refer to my clipper over comb video. I'll put a card right here. Now, if you do understand clipper over comb, then that means that we can kind of departmentalize this a little better, and we can learn how to fade from a 2 down to skin as effectively and as simple as possible. So let's begin the fade. Okay, so we're going to take this gentleman here from what you see here, and we're going to go ahead, we're going to give him a nice skin fade, and this is going to be the end result. So let's talk about the steps that it takes to get us there. First, we're going to begin with that number 2. That number 2 that I'm showing you right here is what's going to help get this done. So we're taking that number 2. You can take it up all over the whole head. If the hair is really long, please just do this preliminary step and take all that bulk out so that you can see where you're actually going to put your skin line. Now the clipper over comb, we talked about it. We're not going to go too deep into it this time, but for now, let's just say don't take too much, don't dig too deep, step back, look at it, evaluate, and let the best barber tool you got, your eyes, tell you what needs to come off and what needs to stay. So the best thing you can do is just actually take a little bit less than what you think, and we can handle the rest of this with guards fairly easily. So that's what we're going to do in that situation. Now, once we're done with the clipper over comb, the first step in my method of madness here is going to be putting in the skin line. So I'm going to mark that right here, and this is going to be with a 5-0. Okay, 5-0, and in this case I use the peanut, but I want you to use your 5-0 detachable or your trimmer or whatever you have that can get us down to this length. This is the critical step here. We just got to get this all the way wiped out. I always use my detachable. I spent a week working with something unconventional. I did a lot of work with the peanut, and I used the Masters. And in this particular haircut, I'm using the Masters. So it was just kind of a little challenge I did, but anyways, we're gonna follow this up. We're gonna follow this step up with the Braun Series 9, and that just doesn't mean you don't have to use the Braun Series 9, you could use any electric shaver, but we need to get this down to skin. Now, something really important that's actually happening right here is before I get to this skin line, okay, before I get to the skin line, I'm being very careful to release my tension, let some of it go, and stop before I get to that line so that I can begin this blend. This blend has to be perfect before you move on. And if you move on before this is perfect, you're gonna wind up running into problems. And that's why it's so important for you to circle back one step. Now we used our trimmer to put in the line. We'll take our trimmer again, and we're gonna wipe out any residual lines so that basically it's perfect. Now, we'll begin our next step by doing the open taper. Open taper is simply just a clipper that's in the open position. Okay, open position, a clipper that's in the open position. And we will begin making our line. Give yourself about 1 inch to 1.5 inches and giving yourself plenty of space to get this done. Now remember, sometimes we're gonna go forward and then we're gonna have to step back. But before we do any of that, we need to understand what's going on in here to get this 5-0 line on. And what's going on in here to get this 5-0 line out is me simply beginning to close this, keep it on an angle, and stay just below where I was with this line. I don't want to run this back into this line again. As soon as I begin closing it, I stay just a little bit lower, and I'm keeping it on an angle, okay? I close it another step, and now I stay just a little bit lower. So if I was to magnify what's actually going on here, and let's say that I had all this distance to do it, let's say that I had it fully open, that's all the way open, right? And then it was only 90% open, and then 80% open, and then 70% open, and then all the way down to 5%, and then nearly fully closed, and then all the way closed. So each time I work this step, I begin to close it, I work this step, I begin to close it, I work this step, and I begin to close it, and I'm leveling down little by little. And the best part about using my process is this will always work with any guard, no matter what you have, no matter where you are in your process. This just happens to be my process. So now, when we're done with this, okay, everything better be perfect from where we did our skin to where we did our open taper. Now, the next step is going to be more of the same. Once I have this completely blended out, it's very common for me to return back to the open taper if need be, return back to the trimmer if need be, return back to the electric shaver if need be before you move on, because the next step is exactly the same thing. If everything is perfect now, in this perfect world that we're creating, we've done our skin, we've done our open taper, and basically all we have going on here is this is now an open taper line. The rest is perfect. We have to get it from open taper to the number 2. Okay, so now all I have to handle is from the open taper to the number 2. Now, once I do that, I basically know which steps I need to take. If you understand your fade scale. So let's just bring your fade scale up real quick. You should know this by heart. You should know exactly what things work with each other in order. And if you don't, take time to study that, because all fades are doing one thing. They're coming from short and they're going to long. So if this was hair and this was alongside the head, it's coming from skin or absolutely short at the very bottom, and towards the top of the scale, it's going into whatever length that you desire. Now that's what is happening during a fade. That's what is happening during a blend. And thank you. That's what's happening during the process. So here we are in the process. We got to get from a 0 to a number 2. And all this is perfect. If this is not perfect, it is imperative that you go back, okay? If the open taper, that might mean that you need to close it and go a little bit higher. That might mean that you might need to return to your trimmer. You might need to return to your electric shaver. Now is the time to do it, because when you go beyond this line, things are going to get easier for you only if all this is addressed properly. So as we move on beyond this line, we know that everything is perfect. We've built a solid foundation to go on, and we know exactly what we're doing. So we wind up going up to the next step, which is going to be the 0 open. I'll just put 00, but it just stands for 0 open. Now if the 0 open, also if you're using wall, it's the 1/16 guard. If you're going to use the 1/16 guard, open, that's fine. You can use the scale. A lot of people ask me, can I use the wall scale? Can I use the Andis scale? I don't know how to use these two. So a lot of people think that there's a big difference between these clipper companies because there's just marginal differences. So just as long as you understand your fade process, obviously the wall only has one different thing in it. It has the 1 1/2 guard. Andis has it too now, but it's not standard in your double magnetic set. So 1 1/2 guard obviously would go in between the 1 and the 2. You would add 1, 1 1/2, then 2. So that's the only difference here. So you would just add one extra step if you're using wall, but I'm not. In this case, I'm using Andis. Doing the exact same steps that we talked about, moving down. So at the top, it's fully open. And then we begin to close it slightly. And we drop down a little level. We drop down a little level. We close it even more. We're keeping it on an angle. We're trying to go against the grain, and we're trying to get rid of all that line that exists. Now, a couple other things can go wrong for you, because essentially this is me repeating to you the exact same information, and I want to give you the best, and I don't want to continue to do that to you. These are things that go wrong in blends. When I see people just starting out, they don't hold the clipper flat. A lot of times they're holding it like this. A lot of times they're holding it like this. Now when you put a guard on, obviously that changes, okay? The moving blade is what actually cuts the hair, not this blade. So if the moving blade is what cuts the hair, if this blade was bent. And now, a word from our sponsors. We don't have any sponsors, okay? This is just me trying to make a difference. I make all the videos, I edit them, I shoot them, I film them, I got all the cameras, the equipment, computers, and it's all very expensive to make these YouTube videos. Okay, anybody who's interested in checking out some of the tools that I use, like this is my total favorite setup. It's battle tested. I've used it for many years. Most of the stuff here has been here for a long time and it works excellent. Go ahead and click that link in the drop down below and you can check those out. And I finally got some merch up on the channel, and if you decide to scoop one, it really helps the channel out. If this channel helps you out, you want to support it and you want to see more of it, anything you do like that will really help me out. And also I want to do more product giveaways and stuff like that, but it's expensive, and I left a link to my PayPal down below. If you guys kick in a little donation, we're gonna start getting in some of this. I can start giving away more clippers and I can start doing some more things. You find it in your heart to throw even just as little as $1 or $2, it could go a long way to getting some of these clippers in some of these people's hands that might need them, and I can continue to do this for more people. If your clipper blade was bent, then obviously flat is not here because it would be arcing outward, right? So flat is actually here. The other thing people do is they don't maintain pressure. You need to maintain pressure on the head. People get so concerned with making the C motion and flicking and flipping and doing all this kind of stuff when it really doesn't even make sense to do any of that. There's no need for it. And when you really use your clipper guards the way that you're supposed to, in the order you're supposed to, or you use them in the order that I'm suggesting to you, you're gonna succeed because all of these lengths are here. They're here to help you. They were made to help you. They were actually made perfect at the factory so that this works for you. So if you use your blending, you keep your pressure, you're holding it flat, there's not a whole lot that can go wrong unless you don't understand the process. And if you don't understand the process, then that's exactly what this video is about. I'm giving you a process that will work to help you create quality haircuts, perfect blends every single time on any kind of textured hair. This works for every single time if you want to use this. Now, is there faster ways? Yes. Is there corners you can cut in the future? Yes. But if you're just starting out, you probably shouldn't be worried about doing things fast or cutting corners. So, the next step that you see me do is the exact same repeat, except for now, instead of using the 0 open, I'm using the 1 open. And guess what? 1 open into 2 close means that this entire blend would be perfect. And everything is done. So, as long as I know how to get it from skin to 2 perfectly, and just to recap, we will in a second, but as long as I know how to get it from skin to 2 perfectly, I'm not going to have any issues. So just a quick recap, because I know this is a lot of information to take in at first. First line, 5-0, skin, electric shaver. First line, 5-0, make the skin line. The next step, electric shaver underneath, stopping just before you reach this line and flipping out and blending that out and making that perfect. The follow-up step, open taper. When I have the open taper, that's just any clipper in the open position. Once I have that properly set, I wind up moving down little by little as I close the guard. So as soon as I close it just a little bit, we'll call it 90% open. Okay? 80%, 50%. 10%, 5%, until it's all the way in the closed position and this line completely disappears. Next step, 0 open. 0 open. I perform the exact same steps. Begin closing it, begin stepping down until this line disappears. The next step, 1 open. All the way to here. Begin closing it until this line disappears. Now keep in mind that during every single one of these steps, it's very common to have to step back. So when you're using the 1, you step back to the 0. If you were using the 0, you step back to the open taper. If you were using the open taper, you step back to the trimmer. If you're using the trimmer, you step back to the electric shaver. It's very important that you do this before you move forward, because if you're up here working on something and you realize, oh God, I got a line here, I got a line there, you're gonna create a huge mess for yourself. You don't wanna create a huge mess for yourself because you wanna be able to get this through without struggling. So, as long as you understand all these steps that we talked about to get it from skin to a number 2. And of course, the last step that I didn't mention was a 1 open, and a 1 open going into a number 2 is not going to leave a line. If you're using wall, you have an additional step if you're using wall. So we use the 1 open, 1 closed. We would use the 1 1/2 open, 1 1/2 closed. Then we would use the 2 closed, and we would have everything lined up. Jeez, my phone just won't leave me alone. I'm trying to do something. My phone is just ding, ding, ding. But, all right, so what you basically see me doing here is I'm finishing up this blend. I'm gonna do all the steps that we talked about. I hope that everything I said here really helps and really resonates. And if you enjoyed this video, please just give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not already, and if you're interested in barbering, cutting hair, or learning, my channel is going to be a great resource for you. I've recently made some additions to the channel. I got some playlists set up that are going to help you. So if it was scissors you're looking for, you got a scissor playlist. If it's long hair you're looking for, you got a long hair playlist. If it was fades, you got a fade playlist. If it's straight razors and head shaves and face shaves, I have that for a playlist. So I'm making my channel a little bit more manageable, a little bit more easy to navigate, because I just got like a hodgepodge of videos going. I got like 115 videos, and I can understand that sometimes it can be frustrating to find exactly what you're looking for. So if you use my channel, it'll be a good resource to you. Hit that subscribe button, and thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. Mr. Eddie Barber. I'll see you in my next video.